We are doing section 2.2, angle bisectors. Our objective, to bisect an angle. We're skipping the warm-ups because we did a midpoint worksheet. Our only vocab word today is angle bisector. It is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. So we would say that ray BD bisects angle ABC, meaning that if my drawing were better, these two angles would be congruent. In a diagram, we mark angles congruent with little arcs inside the angles, similar to the little tick marks we did when we did segments. We would say that angle ABD is congruent to angle DBC. This problem says that ray NQ is bisecting angle MNP. That means, so before I even go on, I know that these two angles must be congruent to each other. So I could go ahead and mark that in my diagram. We are also told that angle MNP has a measure of 74 degrees. We are asked to find the measures of MNQ and angle PNQ, so the two smaller ones. So let's do that first. If the whole thing is 74 and it is split evenly between two angles, what operation do you think I will use? Division. I will divide by 2. So I take 74 divided by 2. I get 37. So that means both of these angles have a measure of 37 degrees. So the measure of angle MNQ is equal to 37 degrees. And the measure of angle PNQ is also 37 degrees. What types of angles are these? Acute. Why? They are between 0 and 90. Sorry, that's hard to see at the bottom there. So they are acute because they are between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So for this problem, we're going to make our own diagram. If we are told that AB, ray AB, bisects angle FAH, I know I need to make some angle FAH. FAH. And I know that I need ray AB to bisect it. So based on the problem given, I'm creating my own diagram. I am also told that angle BAF has a measure of 38 degrees. So angle BAF is my one on top here. 38 degrees. Then, part A asks us to find the measure of angle HAB and FAH. Angle HAB. Brandon, do you have a question or are you answering? What is it? It's 38. We were told that it gets bisected, so that means those two pieces have to be the same. So the measure of angle HAB is also equal to 38 degrees. We also need to find the measure of angle FAH. Somebody new volunteer to help me out with that one. Nikitra. 76 degrees. How'd you get that? Good. That goes back to our angle addition postulate that we've already covered. If we add the two smaller angles together, we would get the bigger angle. So So you can either add them together, or in this case, because it's it's bisected, you can multiply by 2. All right, what type of angle is angle FAH? Acute, because same reason as before, it's between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. All right, once we have our diagram copied down, this one should look a lot like the one before. We're told we've got an angle bisector. We're given what one of the angles inside is. We are asked for the other small angle and the whole big angle. Can somebody new help me out with the measure of angle WUV?
We're VUT.
Okay, we switched the problem up a little bit to make it match the guided notes. So instead, we're looking for angle VUT, so we labeled WUV. Really, the problem isn't going to get solved a whole lot differently, it's just our labeling that's different. We still have an angle bisector, which still means that these angles are congruent to each other. So who can tell me the measure of angle VUT? Cade?
45.
It's also going to be 45 degrees. Those two angles have to be the same if they are being bisected. We also need the measure of angle WUT. Jordan? 90 degrees. Again, we double that angle, or we add the two small angles together to get the big angle. They didn't ask us on this one, but if we wanted to classify WUT, what would we say? That is a right angle because it measures exactly 90 degrees. All right, on these problems, ray GJ is bisecting angle FGH, and we are asked to find the value of x on both problems. If we have a bisector, just like when we had segments, we know that it splits it down the middle. So we end up with two congruent angles. If they are congruent to each other, we can set their measures equal to each other. So we can set up an equation. And then all we have to do is solve it. This one's easy. How do we solve it? Divide by 5. X equals 9. Okay, and that's all they asked us to do, is find the value of x. So we can stop there. Okay, on part B, it's the same idea. We still have a ray bisecting an angle, so we know that these two angles are congruent. To mark them, I'm going to kind of have to like draw through them a little bit. Those two are congruent, which means I can set them equal to each other. So 3x plus 10 is equal to 2x plus 35. So on some of these problems, you might have to set up your own equations. If something's getting bisected, the two pieces are equal to each other. Just like with segments. You have a segment bisector. In order to solve, what should we do? Subtract what on both sides? 10? What else? The 2x. Okay, we can go ahead and do all that at once. So the 10s cancel out, the 2x's cancel out. That leaves us with x equals 25. And again, they only asked us to find x, so we can stop there. If they had asked us to find the measure of angle GJ, what would we have done? Plug the x back in and figure out what that comes out to be. Okay, so sometimes you might get asked questions like that in the future. You just have to take the variable and plug it back in.